go. So it was only a couple seconds more and then we were ready for reboot. So sure, I'm going to go ahead and reboot him. And this time when he logs in, we won't need the disk anymore. It's going to say, hey, let's start up CentOS, Linux, yes, core. We don't want to do the repair, recovery, or anything like that. Just do the main core. And we should hopefully get a login when this computer's all up and running. Okay, here we are, host login. So I could either log in as the root user, or I could log in as that NSA user that I created. This time I'm going to log in as root. Okay, so I'll do the root user and do my password of password. And you see now here I am, I'm all logged in and on a CentOS machine that runs entirely off the terminal, no GUI. If we do an IPA, take a look at our networking configuration. You see I currently have two network adapters. There's an ENP0S3 and there's an ENP0S8. So those are my two network interface cards that I assigned to this machine. But you'll notice that they currently do not have any networking. So there's no DHCP and they haven't been statically configured yet. Now I'm going to statically configure these guys a little bit different because it's CentOS. Okay? And the way that we can do this is we have to modify just a different file. It's a very similar process, but it's just a different file that we're going to modify to set this guy up to be an actual router. Also, CentOS does not have Nano, and I know I've been using that in most of the videos. So here's one perfect example of if you've been using Nano all along, that's fine, but it's time to learn something else. So let's use, we're going to use VI. Okay? If you didn't log in as root, you would have to do a sudo in order to modify all of these commands, or to be able to run any of these and modify any of these files. But because I'm logged in as root, I don't actually have to do sudo as well. So it's going to be a vi/etc/sysconfig/network-scripts. Okay, is going to be the file that we're taking a look at here. And we want to modify this for each interface. So we're going to have to modify this for our different interfaces. And when you look in this file, we're going to have one for IFCFG-, and we'll have one for ENP0S3 as well as ENP0S8. Okay, so why don't we do this for the first one, ENP0S, let's do S3. Okay. So here's the particular file, similar to your interfaces in the sense that it modifies networking configuration, but this one is just, it's done a little bit differently. Okay. Now in order to modify things in VI, remember in order to actually type anything, you have to switch to insert mode. So right now I'm going to click I on my computer, and you'll see at the bottom it now says insert. This will allow me to change the file. The lines that I need to change are going to be my root proto. Okay, that one's going to change from DHCP to static. I'm then going to arrow my way down to the last line where it says on boot is currently no, and I want this to be yes. I want this guy to turn on. I want it to be a statically configured device that turns on when I turn on my computer. Next, I'm going to add in another line, IPADDR, and this is going to be the IP address that I want. Now, this one particularly is going to be my externally facing router connection. So I'll make this one 192.168.1.1. Okay, so that's going to be my 1.1 router. That's what I'll use this ENP0S3 connection. This network interface will be my 192.168.1.1. Just like before, we have to add in a net mask, and our net mask equals 255.255.0, standard class C network. And the last thing that we'll indicate here is the zone. The zone where this guy is going to operate is going to be external, and that will be useful for our firewall configuration. Okay? So this is how I'm going to modify my ENP0S3 configuration file. When I'm all done making changes in VI, you hit escape. That will leave insert mode. And to actually write the changes to the file, you hit colon and then say WQ. Okay, if I just did a Q, that would quit without making changes. You do W to say I'm going to write and then quit. So colon WQ and then enter will actually go and write the changes to that particular file. We need to do something very similar just for the next file as well. So I'm going to hit an up arrow here and say I want to do a VI. I want to do everything all the same there, with the exception that ENP0S8 is going to be the file I'm going to modify, not ENP0S3. Okay, and just like before, it looks like a very, very similar file. I'm going to hit my I to go to insert mode and switch over from DHCP to static all the way down to the last one. On boot we want to be yes. And then finally, I'm going to add in a device IP ADDR equals 192.168.2.1. Okay, so this one will be my internally facing for my Metasploitable machine. I'm going to have a net mask of 255. Net mask equals 255.255.255.0. He's also going to have a gateway though, because he's going to be internal to the 192.168.1 network. So he's actually going to point to 192.168.1.1 as his gateway. And the zone for this one will be internal. Okay. And these will be the changes that I'll have to configure for my other network adapter, the ENP0S8. And this will be internally routed to. I'll hit escape to leave insert mode. Oop, I made a little typo there as I was leaving. Let me backspace that out. All right, so escape. And then in order to write these changes, remember you hit :WQ. That's how you use VI to be able to write out those changes. And now I've actually changed my two different network adapters that I have. They're now ready to be statically configured. If I do an IP.A, remember, or an IPA, remember the changes haven't gone through yet until you restart the service. So just like before, we need to do an etc/init.d/ in this case it's network space restart. Restarting my network. Okay, and now what's going to happen when I take a look at my IPA, we hopefully should see my ENP0S3 network is now on a 192.168.1, and my ENP0S8 network is 192.168.2.1. So in the next video, we'll take a look at how to configure the firewall and set it up for all the port forwarding to make our network more sophisticated.